So I went to see Star Wars today. This is like take 6 or something like that. I don't even know anymore. Uh, but yeah, I went to see Star Wars, and I didn't really intend to go see this film. Actually, I really didn't want to because after the Last Jedi and all the Ryan Johnson subverting your expectation, I was a part of that fandom that really felt sort of betrayed, and I was like, you know what, I'm just so over this. I'm over the Disney sequels. You know, the Force Awakens is whatever. It's a fun film. It's a soft reboot. Okay, I get it. It's a New Hope. Yeah, whatever. But after the Last Jedi, I was so over. I was so thoroughly and entrancedly over the whole Disney Star Wars thing, and or so I thought. And but as the leaks and stuff came out and all this drama came out and it's just like, oh no, they're doing this and they have to reshoot that. I was like, oh my god, look at all this drama. It's fantastic. And it's like I kept up with it mostly just because of that. But anyways, again, I really didn't intend to go see this film. I went to see it because Facebook forced a trailer on me. Again. And in the trailer, there's a scene where an Imperial class Star Destroyer, a classic Imperial class Star Destroyer from the trilogies, come busting out of the ice. And on the bottom of the starship, there's a laser. A planet-killing laser. And, I knew this film was going to be a mess. I knew that there was going to be, from all the other YouTubers and stuff like that, and there's tons of more wonderful people out there who have some excellent content. I highly encourage you to go watch some of their stuff. Clownfish TV is fantastic, and, the Red Letter Media guys are great. But if you really want an overview of the film where they go through and they talk about it, go watch them. They're fantastic. I really don't feel like getting into an 18-hour-long discussion about that kind of stuff, because it's going to be like that anyways. So I'll talk about other things in and of itself, because if I don't, I'm going to ramble on for like 18 hours. But anyways, so back to what I was saying. In this trailer, this Imperial class Star Destroyer comes busting out of the ice, and it's got a planet-killing laser on it. And I'm like, why does the freaking Star Destroyer have a freaking laser strapped onto its freaking head? Like something out of Dr. Evil. So I was like, I'm going to watch this film because I need to. That way I can get my opinion out there because, that's fantastic. But, so I went to go see it with a friend of mine, and I'm going to check my bullet points because I have to write things down. I understand now why people write things down. But, so I went to see this with a friend of mine, and he had completely stayed out of spoiler territories, which is like good for you, because that's really hard to do with everybody going out there and doing everything they can to see what this movie was all about. But the only thing he really knew was that Palpatine was coming back, and he said, I swear to God, the moment Palpatine comes onto the screen, I'm gonna get up and leave. And I'm really glad he didn't, because it was like 5 minutes into this movie and Palpatine's there on like, I'm evil. So I'm glad he didn't leave, because if he had left, I would have just been sitting there eating my popcorn all by myself through this like 2.5 hour long monstrosity. But when people were like, this movie is 8 and 9. J.J. Abrams' version of 8 and 9 put together, crammed into one movie, because he's got to make up for the fact that they did this to The Last Jedi. That's true. That's absolutely true. And everything about the leaks is true. And I already knew that. So I was sitting there and I was watching it, and he's sitting there next to me, and he's watching it, and we're getting to points where I was like, this is that scene everybody's talking about. And he's like, what the fuck? And we had to really try hard not to laugh out loud in some scenes, because there's like other people trying to enjoy this movie, and you can clearly see they really like the new sequel movies. And that's right on them. You're allowed to like it, you're allowed to hate it. It's whatever. But yeah. So there's that. I'm looking at my notes, and my note says R2D2, and that's true. Like when I saw R2, I was like, oh right, there's little R2. He's gonna be a part of this movie, and I don't know why he wasn't a part of this movie, because they're almost like, no. If we use R2, we have to give George Lucas more money, so we have to introduce this little cone head of a droid, and they're even the. I'll get into the writing a little bit later, but the writing in this movie is a mess. It's very, very messy, and it's just all over the damn place. But there's a scene where like Poe or Finn, they go, oh, well, why can't we just back up your memory onto R2? And I'm like, well, why did you say that? R2's not in the scene. It would make sense if R2 was in the scene for you to say that, and then R2 could respond to it. But you're just talking shit behind his back. So, yeah, anyways, I was glad to see R2 in the film, even though he really didn't take part much of it. And that seems to be true of a lot of the guys. Like, Luke makes an appearance, and you're like, ah! And it's funny, because in the scene when Luke catches the lightsaber, I don't remember who it was. I think it was the guys from Red Letter. And they were like, it was almost like he catches the lightsaber, he would say, a Jedi never throws away his weapon. He would look straight into the camera and give a big F you to Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi. And I was like, that's what they're talking about. Trying to cover it briefly, because there's a lot in this movie to talk about, and I'm probably gonna go through it, and I'm gonna try to break down at least what I understand. I'm a fan of Star Wars, but I don't read the books. I don't read the comics. I know a little bit about the lore and some of the lore that came out afterwards, in terms of, this guy did this, and there's this and that, and there's this type of Star Destroyer and that type of Star Destroyer. But I my last couple ones, all I do is rant about the Star Destroyers, and I'm trying to hold that back, because that's a video in and of itself. Anyways, back on track. So when I was listening to the leaks, I was like, oh my god, Rey, our little Mary Sue of a Rey, has avatar powers, like in The Last Airbender. So yeah, and so they do things with the Force power where you're like, what? That's not how it's done. Do you even know Star Wars? So back to the film. So we're sitting there watching this, and they're doing things with the Force, and even my buddy who's sitting next to me is like, no, what the fuck? It's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know, but I knew it was gonna happen, and I'm just sitting there watching it unfold, and it's fantastic how messed up this film is. Then we get to the scene where when I first heard about it, when people were reviewing on it, I was like, what? No way! And that's the scene where Rey and Kylo Ren are playing tug-of-war with the with the stupid troop carrier that's got Chewie on it. And I'm just still thinking about it. It's funny. And I'm sitting there and it's like, oh, this is the scene, and I'm prepping for the scene to happen, and it takes off, and Rey grabs him with the Force, and Kylo Ren, oh my god, and Kylo Ren just suffers this horrendous crash inside of his TIE fighter, and he just walks away with it with not a single scratch, and you're like, you watch that, and if it was like the Grand Prix, or NASCAR, or something, you'd be like, oh, he's dead. But no, Kylo Ren walks away because, plot armor. He has to walk away. So he's like walking away, and he doesn't got a scratch on him. And anyways. Sorry, just thinking about the scene. It's funny. So Kylo Ren comes over, and they're like force tug-of-warring this troop transport, and I'm just sitting there putting myself in the mind of one of the stormtroopers who's piloting this damn thing, and you're just thinking, oh god, oh god, oh god, and I really wanted to see a stormtrooper go, no, fuck this, and like jump out of the ship, And then Rey uses her evil Palpatine powers because spoiler, Rey is the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine. If you don't know that, I don't know where you've been, but she uses her force power and she force lightnings this poor troop transporter and it explodes. And my buddy's sitting next to me, he's like, "What the fuck?" and we're sitting there, and I'm laughing like I am now, and I'm like almost in tears, and he's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" So that scene does that, and then immediately there's like no stakes in this movie. Immediately after that, immediately after that, they're like, "Oh no, he was on a different transport," and again that goes back into that bad writing that I mentioned before, where there's almost no stakes in the movie because it's just so bam, 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 bam. You know, we gotta get this over with. Gotta get get on there. We only got 2.5 hours or however long the runtime of this movie is. We gotta get it done. You know, no, get on with it. You know, like in Monty Python. So that happens, and they get on to the stupid Star Destroyer, and they have a stupid battle, and oh my god, the astral projecting of your force you into another thing, and then there's I don't know how it works. So anyways, that's the Chewie scene. This is my note. So they go off and they do some other dumb thing, right? And I just don't care again. And this movie, that's how I feel about this movie. And there are scenes in it, like, I really like the slow parts, where things slow down and they get to talk, you know, where you find out a little bit about Poe's background, the scene where Finn talks to the other stormtroopers that defect amazingly for the same reason that he does. I kind of wish that they had defected for another reason, but anyways, whatever, it works. Those were, to me, were the most genuine parts of the film because they were slow. You got a chance to stop, breathe, take in the world around you. You get to really experience these characters, these other characters that you're supposed to care about, like Han, Luke, and Leia, and you find out about their backstory, and it makes you more sympathetic towards them. But it's almost like, oh no, slow it down because that's really exposition, and then back to the crazy action scene. They fly now, yeah, they fly now. So you get into that kind of stuff, and some other stuff happens. I almost don't even remember anymore because I blocked it out of my mind like a bad movie. It's just gone. Because it's a cheap movie. It's like a cheap, well, that's what it is. It's just cheap thrills. And you're like, oh, that's neat, and it's over. It's like eating McDonald's. And then you're like, oh, and then you're still hungry, even though you've eaten 2 Big Macs. Yeah. But, anyways, so they find this stupid Sith dagger. Oh my god, the Sith dagger. That's another fun scene. And they did something with 3PO, and 3PO reads it, blah, and then he doesn't remember. Oh, and I really do like that when 3PO lost his memory. He was like, oh yeah, I'm CP3PO, you know, human cyborg relations, and it's like, oh, you're my best friend, and that's funny. But again, I think it's fun because it harkens back to the old days of Star Wars, and for an old school fan like me, the old man that I am, where I'm like, yes, I remember that. Just like the member berries. I remember. But they do that quite a bit. Like, even when they were walking around on that planet where Finn had his shady past with, he's a spice runner. You know, that kind of spice. But they're like, oh, be careful. There are walkers over there. Like the ones on Endor? I remember that. So, anyways, yeah, they do that a little bit here and there because they're trying to bring back old fans like myself and my buddy. So yeah, but so they get the Sith dagger and they they go to the moon of Endor, yeah, and tons of other stuff have happened. And again, there's tons of other people who who can cover this stuff and a lot more. And I was like, oh my god, yeah, that's that scene from the trailer. Why didn't I think of that? But so they got this dagger, and they're like looking at it, and they're, oh well, how do you determine whether or not, how do you get this thing to work? And my buddy sitting next to me goes, oh, you better not. Like that. And Ray reaches over to the little hilt protector thing on it. It's like, oh, it opens. It opens. And it's like, of course it opens. And look, it's the perfect indentation of the little corner of the Death Star, which, by the way, is supposed to be atomized, and I completely agree with that. And then you match it up with the silhouette, and you see it. It's like something from The Legend of Zelda, which is a much better franchise, because Nintendo knows how to handle it. And we're sitting there, and we're just laughing at this scene, because it's so cookie cutter, and like, God, why didn't I see that coming? That's so dumb. And we're sitting there, we're laughing about it, and I'm like shaking my head, going, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't see that coming. And he's like, oh my god, what is this? So now we have Sailor Ray. So, this was mentioned in one of the videos that I had watched. Ray comes from a desert planet. She's a desert scavenger. She's never seen large bodies of water. There's a freaking typhoon with 100 billion foot swells, and Ray's like, no, I have to get onto the Death Star now. And everybody's like, whoa, slow down there, sweet cheeks. It's kind of dangerous. Look how choppy the ocean is. And other people, it's like, if I live in a landlocked city, I don't know what big swells look like. I've seen them, when I go to the coast or whatever, and I was like, damn, those are pretty big. And the locals like, oh, it's even worse when it comes in a storm there, sonny. But it's almost like, I wanted a scene with some sailor, some salty old bitter British sailor from like the Edwardian period who served with Nelson, and it's like missing an eye, and he's like, I lost this eye in a battle of Trafalgar. But again, if I do that, I'm gonna go off on this huge tangent where he's like the storm be too choppy there, little lass. It'd be dangerous to sail out in a craft that small. And it's like, but it wouldn't matter because Ray's perfect, and she's just gonna go out and do it anyways, which she does. But anyways, she comes from a desert planet, and like me in a landlocked city, I want to be a sailor. I think those things are really good, but I don't know the first thing about sailing. And these swells are huge, like they could swallow ships. They're massive. I mean, they're so massive that later where there's a fight scene with her and Kylo Ren, the storm swells literally swell over the top of the parts of the parts of the Death Star. That's what I'm looking to say. And you're like, what is going on? But anyway, so she's capable of doing these things, and she just weathers the storm like a professional lifeboatman. So there's that, and she's like hopping around, and there's another protracted thing, and Abrams is like, oh, remember stormtroopers? And so he leaves a bunch of armor just lying about the place, and you're like, with something like the Death Star crashing onto the forest moon of Endor, other than the fact that it would like absolutely destroy it, it would be worse than the Tunguska explosion or whatever the actual explosion. I don't know how to say it, but the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Other than it being more cataclysmic than that, burning up in the atmosphere and crashing onto the planet. So before I get on a huge random tangent about that. So, oh my god, and then there's that scene where she goes up to the throne room, and I don't know, maybe it's like Palpatine using his Palpatine Sith powers because he's Palpatine, But, this thing's crashed onto the forest moon of Endor like some 30-something years ago. I don't know. And there's still power. The door goes, shh, shh. And, and my buddy and I are looking at this thing going, what the fuck? Like, how is that even possible? How is there power to this part of the room, to that, just to that door? See, I can't even talk about it because it's so ridiculous. And then there's some more sloppy dialogue writing where she's talking with the Force incantation Sith of herself, like Luke did in Empire Strikes Back, where he goes down there and he fights Vader and he finds that it's himself. But there's symbolism there, whereas this is just another cheap action set scene. And then there's and then Rey go, and then like Kylo and them fight, and it's like whatever. Yeah, and then so that happens, and then there's Leia's official death. So yeah. Anyway, so we get to that part, and I really did like how Leia reached out to her son. And it's been said before, and I had this whole horrible fan fiction version of Episode 9 that I had written in my head, and I really wanted to put it out there on the internet before the actual release of the movie, but I'm just lazy, so I didn't do it. Like I said, this is like 18 hours worth of stuff. So, and then there's this forced relationship with Rey and Kylo Ren, and like we're 26 minutes into me just rambling, and it's almost like, God, is it over yet? But when you get into the third act, that's how I really felt. With the last act of the film, where you're like, all right, everything's panned out. We know what's going to happen. Get on with it! And there's just like big, huge, ridiculous, unnecessary space battle, and Palpatine's like, and then the Knights of Ren are completely underutilized, and I'm going to do a whole nother thing about the Knights of Ren, and talk about loyalty and other stuff like that. All that's like fantastic lore and world building, and it's completely underutilized, and it's just like, fuck it, throw it off to the side, and we're gonna force project the lightsaber to Rey, to Kylo Ren, who's now Ben, and then he's gonna do something. That being said, there's a scene that I actually cried at, and it was when Kylo meets Han Solo, or whether it be a Force ghost or whether it just be his own memories being. But yeah, so there's that scene where he's coming to reconcile with Han Solo, his father, and his father said, and Han Solo says, no, Ben isn't dead. You're right here, or whatever he says, and Kylo's dead, and he throws his lightsaber away. That scene I really liked, and it was a scene that I had with my own personal fan fiction of fan film of Episode 9, that was going to be important because it was supposed to be a redemption arc for Kylo Ren. And the very last note I says the writing, and yeah, this film has very missing writing, because it's like other people have said, it's like 17 billion other films crammed into it, and they just had to get it done because we have to get it out when we get it out, and we really didn't know, and we had to make up for The Last Jedi, and we had to bring the fans back with a bit of nostalgia. The only bit of nostalgia that I really had was John Williams' score, when it says Star Wars and it fades into the back, and then the text comes up, and it's like, okay, whatever. But I don't know. This film is just so whatever, and it's just I'm so over it. I'm just done, and I'm glad that it's done. And it's like I have the same feelings towards this film as I do with The Hobbit and the last Hobbit film, the Battle of Five Armies, where I'm like, why does this even exist? just because the man in the khaki suit somewhere in Hollywood says it has to, I suppose. And those are my thoughts. If you're still with me, thanks for listening.